Major Jim Conroy with the DeKalb Police. I'm the Precinct Commander of the North Precinct. We service your area. Brookhaven's getting started. What are we looking like?
Couple months.
Couple months, we're going to say. So, couple months, we're still your police department. We're still active in there. Officers are dedicated. I think you've seen some of us this week, and in a minute I'll explain some of the stuff that we've done, so that'll be helpful. Real quick, I'm going to introduce my folks, Officer Brian Smith. A lot of you may know him. He works in and out the area. Sergeant Kenny's with our detective division, and Detective McCord. He's one of our property crimes detectives. Briefly, since this is my first time meeting you, I'll give you a brief bio of myself. Been with the police department 22 years. I was recently assigned to the North Precinct as the commander a month ago. So I'll give you my bio, that way I know that we haven't met unless it's been in the past. When I started the department 22 years ago, I started at the North Precinct and then came back later as a sergeant where I oversaw our Cobra unit. Our Cobra unit was responsible for robbery prevention and burglary prevention. I spent a lot of time in our homicide unit, 3 years as a homicide detective, and then a majority of my career in the sex crimes and then the special victims unit. We would call it youth and sex then. When the TV show Special Victims Unit came along, they decided to change the name down. And then I spent time as our chief of staff for the police department, as well as 3 years as the 911 communications director. So I bring a wide variety of experience, and I'm very happy to be back at the North Precinct. Glad Brookhaven's starting, but I hate that we're losing you, because this was the area where I was trained. Buford Highway was where they trained me when I first started. As you know, we're here for a series of, that's been brought up, a series of burglaries in the Drew Valley area. So we've got this is a map of the North Precinct, and you guys are right here in the middle, so we're responsible for all this area. And we started fielding some calls about burglaries in your area. So we did a little map of the last 2 months of all the crime surrounding your area. Some of this is available if you go to crimemapping.com. If everybody's familiar with that site, you can look at some of the crime trends in your area. I highly encourage it. And another website, decatmugs.com. You can enter your zip code and you get emails when people from your zip code are arrested, if they live in your zip code. So very, very important to do, and you'll learn a lot about your neighbors. We're tracking approximately 8 burglaries that occurred in the Drew Valley neighborhood that started March 19th. I went back a little further than some of your emails, but March 19th we tracked a few. April 22nd specifically was when they started up again, and oddly enough that we had an entering auto and a burglary in the 2100 and 2300 block of Drew Valley Road. The next night, we made an arrest of a adult male and 3 juveniles. One of our officers got behind him in a stolen vehicle, got in a brief chase. We ended up capturing the adult and the 3 juveniles. Interviewed them. They confessed to some burglaries, robberies, and entering autos. So Detective McCord's working on pinning which case is which. So we thought we were doing pretty well. Then the next day, this recent string started. So we thought we had the crew in custody. 24th, we had a burglary, 29th, and then sometime between May 1st and 3rd, another one on May 3rd, and finally on May 6th on Wawona Drive. That was yours?
Yeah, that was ours.
We made a couple other arrests in the area that are unrelated, but I'm going to get to Tuesday in a minute, which was right after yours. We arrested an adult male on Village Run, which is the next neighborhood up, on a burglary. I think you might have heard, some of you may have heard about that. But we made an arrest in that case. And then on Tuesday, we were doing some heavy patrols in the neighborhood. We had our undercover vehicles in there. We did get some suspicious person calls on undercover vehicles, so I'm not going to tell you which one it was. Somebody did call us in.
But that's a good thing.
Yes, I told Jim that was a test, didn't it?
Yeah. It means you guys are opening your eyes and you're calling 911, which is exactly what you've been asked to do. So anyway.
But yeah, while we were in your neighborhood, up on Warwick Circle, we got a call of suspicious persons. Went out there in a black vehicle, black 4-door vehicle. Our officer got out there, they hit the ground on it. And while we were chasing them, an alarm call came in at the address. They were in the process of breaking into a house in Warwick Circle. So, brief foot chase, caught one of them, ended up catching the other two a little bit later. So we got 3 juveniles in custody. They're driving a black 4-door Nissan. I think some of the lookouts we had was a Lexus, and I don't know where the Lexus lookout came from. I know it was one of the calls, and one of the questions that we had is, did they know it was a Lexus? So are we looking for another one? So, but we've got 8 suspects have been arrested, and 1 other person was identified as a suspicious person that probably a burglar. I know if he had done any burglaries in the area.
On the way over, I saw a white van has been pulled over on Cove and Drew. I don't know if he...
Yeah, we're still looking, and let me give a little rundown about burglaries and how they work, and just so everybody doesn't get a false sense of security, as we did when we made the first arrest. We want to make sure that we've got everybody in custody that's involved in these cases. But let me give you the reality of the situation. Majority of these folks are juveniles. They're out of juvenile before we finished our police report. So they're back on the street. Our juvenile system, unfortunately, has a point system. And I believe it's after we've made our 4th arrest, is it? 4th juvenile burglary arrest, that they get to spend the night at the youth detention center. So that's after we catch them 4 times. God knows how many they committed in the meantime. So we've made arrests, but these folks are still out there. So you need to be vigilant. Some tips on that, hang on one second. Some tips, get to know your neighbors. I see the group here, everybody knows what's going on. Know what your neighbors drive. I know one of the calls, they saw this black vehicle backed in the driveway, and then when we were there later that night doing the burglary report, our officer went and checked with the neighbors. Oh yeah, I saw a black vehicle there, backed in. Well, if you see it, call us. I think we've had some great success with that. Tuesday, our evening watch said that you guys were blowing up 911. It's a good thing. I'd rather catch them than come and write a burglary report later. So keep it up. Just keep an eye out in your neighborhood. Know what your neighbors drive. You guys know who belongs there. I don't know what you drive. So if you see a suspicious car, suspicious people walking through, definitely call 911. If you're worried, you can say this is not an emergency, and if they're busy in 911, they'll put you on hold, and then they'll get right back to you. But definitely call us. Call us for everything.